we're going to talk about someone, and I'm just completely disgusted with how the media is reporting this story. And it's a man named Michael Hari who bombed a mosque. He formed a radical hate group. He was proud of his actions. Now, all of a sudden, he's saying he identifies as a woman, and the media is just completely buying into this. Instead of reporting the story as Michael Hari, a male who did this, they're now referring to Michael Hari with her and she, and the name that he has chosen, which is Emily Claire. There's even this article from The Hill, and it says Emily Claire Hari, who previously went by Michael Hari. No, he didn't. Michael Hari is his name. He didn't go by it. That's his given name. He's a male. And basically what he did was convicted and sentenced, and now is saying that the reason that he perpetrated these heinous crimes was because he was actually gender dysphoric. We have here another article that states, she is not a white nationalist, a neo-Nazi, a skinhead, a boogaloo boy, nor part of the Aryan Brotherhood. Instead, she is a misunderstood pacifist. Okay.
Oh, right.
People can completely rewrite history simply by identifying out of their previous crimes, out of their previous misdeeds. They can completely rewrite history, and the media is buying into it.
Mm-hmm. We knew this was going to happen, didn't we? I mean, we knew as soon as people get to self-ID with their gender, with their sex, then I've argued all along that, if people get to rewrite their history, then they lose everything from their history. Oh, any degrees you had? Sorry, that was the dead name.
Not how it works. They get to keep what they want, but get rid of what they don't want. And the thing is now we have this guy is a male, but now they're recording it as a woman who bombed a mosque, which is just a lie.
You know, I think it's really interesting because now this happened in Minneapolis. If this had occurred in California after SB 132, this man would already be in the female estate, in the female prison, sleeping with the inmates.
It wouldn't even be up for debate.
Wouldn't be up for debate. He'd have to complete a 7-part course on female prison dynamics. That's the law in SB 132, which Gavin Newsom and Scott Wiener are complicit in the abuse and the sexual violence of women. So that's what they have to do, to complete a 7-part course, and then they get access to the female prison, where I'm told there are several pregnancies now in the California prison as a result of some of these. Actually, I heard it was just one guy who'd got these women pregnant, but in any event, this is a catastrophe. These women are so vulnerable. A study showed that around 80% of prisoners have had, female prisoners have had some kind of head injury, some kind of concussion at some point in their life, and that 9 out of 10 have suffered some form of sexual violence. This is a very vulnerable population. Very vulnerable population.
I'm confused, Alix, because you're saying that these women have gotten pregnant in prison. And as far as I know, women can't get each other pregnant.
That's right. Not only that, Erin, but there is the Prison Rape Act, which was passed in the 2000s, which states that all sex which occurs within the prison is by definition non-consensual. I mean, they really were talking about guys. Yeah. That's what the law was written up for, but this is the law that exists. So nobody can consent. No prisoners cannot consent to sex. But now we have pregnant prisoners, and then you have a whole other issue with them now. You know, these are very vulnerable women. What are they going to do? You know, I mean, it's just, why would you create this complete catastrophe in the lives of a woman? Yeah.
In addition to like these women being incredibly vulnerable, this guy gets to completely disown responsibility for the crime he committed. And I'm seeing this over and over again, that men are like, oh, well, the reason I did something so horrible, it wasn't really my fault. It's because I was suffering from gender dysphoria. I was suppressing the inner woman within me. Therefore, it's really not even my fault that I did that.
Let me ask a question about that, because I thought the DSM-5 removed gender dysphoria as a mental disorder. Is it no longer a mental disorder?
Well, the way it works is that it's not, the gender dysphoria itself isn't a mental disorder. It's the distress that they feel from not being accepted by society. So again, in this case, Michael Harry, who's saying that he is now Emily, says, the article says she was tormented by gender dysphoria. And so she formed a ragtag crew of freedom fighter or militiamen. And all of this was because she was afraid to come out as a woman. And so according to the DSM, it's not the actual gender dysphoria. That's not a problem. That's normal. That's a normal developmental path according to them. But it's that distress of knowing that like her fellow militant, hateful bigots who wanted to go around bombing people wouldn't accept him for being the woman that he really is.
Have any of us ever struggling with, with our cycles, struggling with our relationships, struggling with discomfort with our bodies? Have we ever formed a ragtag militia team to go bomb somebody because that's gonna make us feel better? Women don't do that.
No.
That is not a woman thing.
No. And it's also ridiculous. It's ridiculous to offset all of the mental illness onto society. Basically, what they're saying is people no longer have to take responsibility for themselves. They can just blame society. So I can go out and do something horrible. And instead of taking responsibility, I can say, well, it's internalized transphobia that I have for myself because I'm really a man and it wasn't my fault. And then people are the media will say, instead of it being a her, that Erin is like a tormented man, she's finally coming out and becoming her true his true self. I mean, this is just all absurd, but the crux of it is that these guys are able to rewrite not only their history, but our history, society's history, and their crimes. This is no longer a hate crime. This is now a poor guy who's basically acting out because he's not being accepted as a woman.
It's funny you mentioned the DSM, Maria, because I'd like to jump in and tell you what is in the DSM. Go to the paraphilia section, go to A for autogynephilia, and there you have your answer. These guys who are autogynephiles are disproportionately violent. I'm not saying every autogynephile is violent, but this is something where there is a crossover between these men and them kind of doing heinous crimes. There's many of them out there. If you can go to Women Are Human, you'll see, and these are not our crimes as well. Go there and have a look through some of these offenders. They have a sexual problem, they have a fetish, and they are being privileged because they have this fetish, which is in the DSM. So, I'd like to just, think yourself, if you were to be taken today and put in a prison cell with 4 other women, and you have to change your tampons, and you have to sleep, and you have to eat, and you have to do all of your functions, including go to the bathroom. Now imagine I put this guy in there with you. How terrified are you going to feel? I would hold my pee in. I wouldn't go to I would be so horrified. So think about that and start to be a little bit more critical and analytical when considering this issue.
And these are, again, it's so important for people to understand, these are intact males that are able to impregnate women. And I am not in favor of any male-bodied person going to prison, but especially not someone who's committed violent crimes, who is fully intact and able to use his penis as a weapon against vulnerable prisoners who are women. This is not just a minor sort of sociological blip. To me, this is unconscionable. Like when I read about this, I'm going to cry right now because it's just unbelievable to me that these women are so vulnerable and that we are not protecting them and that we're privileging men's feelings over the basic safety of women. It is not okay. And we need to stand up and stop it.
Yeah, I agree.
100%. We all, everybody. And I just saw recently, if you are not actively fighting against this, you are complicit in it.
Yes.
And
people
I'm
need to realize
so tired of people being afraid of what their friends are going to say on social media, of being afraid of, oh, maybe I'm not going to, I don't want people to think I'm a bigot. I don't want people to think I'm a hater. I want you to think about yourself, your daughter, your mother being in prison and having a man with an intact penis there, bent on doing whatever he wants to whoever he wants. I just talked to a mother this week who, this is completely separate issue, but her son was at boarding school and was raped by other boys with a broom handle.
Oh.
This happens because boys and men are the perpetrators of violence, and they do not belong in women's spaces, period.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, in terms of the dynamics, which are in a female prison is not like a male prison. In the male prison, they are very organized. They are very, very organized. And then they bring that manipulation and that organization to the female state. And I was talking to a formerly incarcerated woman just last night, and she said to me, these guys are going to make a fortune. These guys are going to come, they're going to take their stuff, they're going to take their TV, they're going to take their commissary, they're going to, they're going to take their things. Maybe they're going to say, listen, if you don't pay me $200 a week, I'm going to kill you. I mean, this is the kind of thing. And this woman was saying, she was incarcerated for a long time. And she's saying, this is just, obvious. This is obvious.
These are violent criminals. These are not white collar criminals. These are violent criminals. And all they have to do in some of these states is say, I'm actually a woman. That's it. That is it. And how is it as a society that we are buying into this lie? And any of us who are calling it out are considered bigots. How have we gotten to this point? I can't think of any, how have we gotten to the point where women's rights and protections are meaningless, and that the feelings of men are privileged to the point that it's okay to put women in vulnerable positions at incredible risk? It's okay to completely rewrite history. That's absurd. And we need to, again, these media companies are complicit with it. The fact that I have story after story about this man who bombed a mosque. These people are now afraid to go and worship their God, right? Because of this man. And yet media outlet after media outlet is referring to this man as she and her and Emily, and writing stories as if this poor man is the victim of all of this.
Well, and we've talked before about how the whole gender industry is moving forward because they're tapping an untapped market. It's the pharmaceutical companies tapping the market of children. I've seen 3 market analyses where industries have said that sex reassignment surgery is a growth industry. Absolutely. And they expect it to make almost $1 billion in the next 5 years. This is an industry. This is pharmaceutical companies tapping an untapped market of getting children medicalized. And until just now, when Alix was talking about this formerly incarcerated woman who said men are bringing this organized crime into women's prisons, up until just now, I've been thinking, oh, this is about privileging men's feelings. This is about men who are afraid to be violated in the men's prison, so they want to go to the women's prison where it's safe. No, they're going there not just to be foxes in the hen house, but because there's an untapped market. There's a whole untapped prison system just right for some man to come in and set up organized crime there. And I'm sorry, I'm just figuring that out.
But why not? But why not also, when you think about organized crime, why not also start pimping? That's also a very logical conclusion. A man comes in, a couple of men, 3 men, 4 men, 5 men, he's managing, pimping out a couple of women. It's not far-fetched. It really is not far-fetched, because that's what they did on the outside.
Yeah, and what's going to happen is all the men in the men's prison are going to be like, hey,
yeah,
guess what? It's better over there. We can go and we can take advantage of these women and have sex. Again, to me, it's just, it's absolutely bizarre. I feel like our society has gone completely insane that we're even having discussions like this, that this is even up for grabs. And again, you know, you talked about these men kind of exploiting the women in prison. That's what this whole thing is about. These are autogonophilic men who are, you know, fully intact, taking advantage of vulnerable women, but they're also the ones who are pushing this trans agenda onto the kids. So they're hurting, you know, on all levels of society. And they're trying to silence us by saying that we're bigots and we're Nazis for pointing out the fact that they are biologically male. They are not women. A man cannot become a woman. Social media has bought into this. If I were to post today on Facebook that biological man cannot become a woman, or that no woman has a penis, there's a good job that there's a good chance that I'll be banned. So social media has bought into this. This is all obfuscating our reality, and it's harming our children in a way that I can't even imagine, because little girls are now told, you're not allowed to question. You're not allowed to question the fact that that boy in your locker room or bathroom or shower is biologically intact. You just have to pretend like that penis doesn't exist, and possibly even pretend that penis doesn't exist as that man pushes you down and rapes you.
Yeah, absolutely, Erin. And I think that this is so troubling, and it's so devastating, and it feels, you know, we feel a lot of despair, right? We all feel a lot of despair over this. And it's an international problem. Okay, so in Canada, actually, it's been going on for like years now. So I think that people can get despair, and really you can do something about it. You really can. If you can go and have a look at some of the handwritten letters from the incarcerated women, that would be excellent. And if you have a story that you think that we should know about and we should get out, you can come to Partners for Ethical Care, and we will absolutely want to hear from you. Of course, our mission is children, but we can put you in touch with the correct individuals, the correct people. We very much care about women and girls who are incarcerated, of course. But I think instead of despairing, instead of losing it, let's actually channel a lot of this anger into talking to candidates, into talking to politicians, into talking to your church leaders, your mosque leaders, your synagogue leaders. Talk to them, explain what is going on, and let's start an actual abolitionist movement. You know, we can do it today.
There was recently a protest in front of a prison where a bunch of women got together and protested, said, no way, you know, stop putting rapists in cells with women. This is not acceptable. And so there is, you know, people are starting to, I mean, I think it's gotten to the point where it's so ridiculous that people are starting to wake up, and they're starting to stand up. And we need to be willing to be called bigots. We need to be willing to, you know, to have friends on social media unfriend us. We need to be willing to know that there are going to be, you know, possibly even family members who are going to think that we're awful for stating the truth. But if we don't start standing up and protecting our rights, and protecting the rights of girls, and protecting the rights of children, I mean, what's it gonna be like in 5 years if this has all happened within the past, you know, 5 or 10 years? If we don't put a stop to it now, I can't even imagine how horrible it's going to be for our daughters, for our sisters, for our mothers, for our vulnerable friends. We need to put a stop to it now. So again, I just ask people to be emboldened to stand up and say enough. You know, write your congressman, write your senator. Find out if your prison's allowing men in the women's prisons. And if so, start to go protest. A lot, you know, we have a lot of power as people if we just will use our voices and stand up and say enough. We need to stop this. Women's rights and protections are important.
Absolutely.
Share this video. If you can't do anything else, share this video on all of your social media networks. So your friends will see it. So people who are ignoring this issue can't ignore it anymore.
Absolutely. And I would also just say, you know, we can do something about this. We're at a point where we can do something. It's not, all is not lost. And we are 52% of the population. Okay. We are strong. We can get stuff done. We just need to come together and be sensible, and let's do it. Okay. And let's not be let's stop being so polite.
Yeah, we need to stop being so polite. And I think that that's
Mhm.
one of the things that, you know, the overarching message of this is that for many, many years, women have been polite and they haven't wanted to hurt anybody's feelings. And they've been like, well, the poor guy, you know, he's uncomfortable. He's a little nervous. Let's be nice. Well, it's time to stop being nice, because guess what? Being nice gets us raped, abused. It gets our rights taken away. It gets our protections taken away. It gets our very very identity of woman is now up for grabs. We are no longer mothers. We are no longer sisters. We are no longer nursing our daughters. We are now birthing parents who chest feed their unassigned biological
They're
child.
non-binary bundle, you
They're
know?
non-binary
Babies
bundle.
are the babies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
you're
babies.
baby. Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we need to reclaim that and say, no, we are sisters, we are mothers, we are daughters. And these
We are female.
we are female, we are women. And you, sir, have a penis and you are not a woman.
Mhm.
Amen.
Amen.
Mm.